All right. Hi, hello, everybody. It's good to see you. It's good to see you again. I'm happy to be back. We're back again. So, we're going to do a quick recap once I get back to the starting page, but I'm waiting to see if people are going to join up yet or not. And we'll get there when we get there. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome in. Alright. Let's get to that recap then. First things first, we did the family moment, which, as you can see, is grayed out. It's the one right around these guys. But we did the family moment, which was hanging out with our cousin, Lee, and learning about both my and Elizabeth's biological parents and the fact that we were adopted, which, you know, was kind of obvious. But that was the first one that we did. It had some emotional catharsis. It was overall pretty quiet and tame. I appreciated it. So then we moved over to the specifically Derek moments, and keeping with the theme of family, we went and hit siblings, which turned out to be a lot longer than I thought it was, and it was the only one we had time for. I think probably all of the Derek moments will be that long, so we'll save those for either the last or the first ones, but we will figure that out when we get there. This one was about Derek inviting you over to his house to spend the evening camping out, in part, in majority, because he was worried about you, because it was Father's Day and you don't have a dad, and he didn't know how you felt about it and was too weird to ask you about it, so decided to give you a good day instead. This led to you realizing that perhaps your sister wasn't as okay as you thought she was, and both of you taking public transportation all the way back to your home and all the way back to the Derek's condo apartment thing after you made sure that your sister was okay, which she appreciated the thought more than anything else. It was very cute, all of the sibling interactions there. But yes, the worry of a friend worrying about whether or not a friend was doing alright. And that's what happened last week. Last time in the moments here, my thought was to sort of keep that sort of like with like sort of things. So, in truth, I was going to do birthday next, because that was the only one in this particular set of DLC ones that I felt connected to family, siblings, etc. But then that one could connect to growing, but I don't know what else to do after that. But I'm going to start with that one, just to finish up the ones that I wanted to do last time, knowing that this soiree one that's on both of these boys' moments might be the same event and is probably best for saving before the summer ending. So, birthday first. It was a pleasant afternoon. The sun shone brightly and the breeze tugged lightly at the balloons strung around the park. You and Cove had just been dropped off at Miranda Eckert's birthday party. You didn't really know Miranda. Last year was the first time you had a class with her, and everyone at school knew her as quiet. The shy girl stuck to her own friend group like glue. It had been a surprise that she was having such a big party. You looked around the expansive park, a spacious recreation center in the next town over, and noticed a bouncy castle. Miranda had a bit of a reputation for not caring if she acted mature like other teens sometimes did. It made a certain amount of sense that her party would match that. Well, since I only had one class with her, I want to get to know Miranda better. Maybe at this party you'd have the chance to make friends with her. You were excited at the thought. You hadn't had a choice in coming here today. Your moms insisted on it after you got the invitation, as did Cove's mom and dad. So both you and he were driven over from the next town with presents in tow. All the parents had been pretty firm about going to a birthday if you had been invited. Let's see. You agreed it was best to attend. You wondered if it was an adult thing. You were happy to be here. You wished you were somewhere else. You felt out of place. You were willing to give it a chance. I think I'm willing to give it a chance, but it definitely is one of those things that it's like, yeah, I was invited, but I don't really know the person, and I don't know if they chose to invite me or if it was one of those things where their parents just told them to give out an invitation to everybody in their class. But you were willing to give it a chance. You had just arrived at the party after all. You couldn't see the future. It could turn out to be fun. Yeah, definitely. It could turn out to be fun, or it could be a disaster. You would wait and see. Cove made a small noise, which caught your attention. He looked around, scanning the area. He fidgeted with his gift in hand. Any idea what we're supposed to do with these? You looked at your own present, and then towards the seating area. There was a table filled with snacks and drinks, supplies for various party games. Past all that, you spotted one table in the back that seemed to have a truckload of gifts. He pointed it out to Cove. I see presents. Let's go! Cove nodded with a smile and turned to where you gestured. He saw it too. Cool. You and Cove began to walk over to the present table, flattening the well-trimmed grass beneath your feet. You walked past groups of people, classmates in semicircles, broken up into the usual friend groups, chatted away. You, or maybe Cove, received the occasional greeting or friendly nod. However, as you passed by even more people that you had never seen before, you became aware that there were more strangers here than not. It was more crowded than you expected. Miranda Eckert, the quiet girl, was hosting the most populated birthday party you had been to in a long time. You looked at the new faces and thought you saw maybe something of Miranda in them? Cousins? Nieces or nephews, maybe? Parties could be a big deal in her family. The both of you reached the table. You set your gift down in an empty space, brushing some confetti aside, and Cove placed his gently next to it. He looked at the present thoughtfully. Hey, what did you get her? Before you had a chance to answer, Cove opened his mouth again and tapped his gift. I found this sparkly backpack. I figured she could use it for school or a trip or something. Your mom's had taken you out shopping the other day. You'd searched through the store and ultimately... Alright. You picked out a stuffed animal, you grabbed a necklace and bracelet set, you had found a lighthearted adventure book, you chose a yarn craft kit that made a toy, you let your moms pick, your moms didn't appreciate what you had picked and chose something else. I don't think it would be the last two. Lane is not that kind of kid. Miranda Eckhart is quiet, sticking mostly with her own friend group. They didn't really give us a whole lot of thoughts to go off of for gifts. So I know I've made Lane a sculptor and an artist, But I've also reiterated time and again that Lane enjoys reading. So basically one of those three: stuffed animal, adventure book, yarn crafts. But I don't necessarily know what I think would be the choice. I'm personally leaning towards the lighthearted adventure book or the craft kit over anything that was already pre-made or whatever. But what's you guys' opinion? I can see why the adventure book might be nice because it's if it the adventure book or the craft kit or both. I was stuck between those two basically, because if she makes a toy and she doesn't like it, she can always give it to one of her younger cousins or something that we're sort of running around here later as a gift in and of itself because she made it and just didn't have to spend money on materials, but then would have the instructions and could make more if the case called for it. And a book is always fun, and if she doesn't like it, she can always, again, just put it on the bookshelf or secondhand bookstores or something. I'm gonna go with the craft kit, I think. Because I like the idea of something that could theoretically be reused. The colorful picture on the box appealed to you. It showed the different variations you could make with the kit, along with the bolded messages of easy and 43 pieces included. Hopefully the kit was as cool as it looked. You described it to Cove briefly, and he had no objections. Not a bad idea. He brushed his hands against the sides of his pants. I really hope Miranda likes her gifts, but I think we both did good. With that, he gave you a sunny grin. You touched the gift one more time and then stepped away. Without the direction of needing to put stuff away, the two of you weren't sure what to do next. You felt a little awkward, and Cove shrunk in on himself as he looked around. There were more guests heading to the present table, so you turned and wandered over to a nearby tree where you wouldn't be in the way. From there, you both inspected the area and planned the next step. You were glad that Cove had been invited too. At least you had his company in this unfamiliar place. You watched him, and he gave you a nervous grin. It reassured you a little, and you smiled at him. You smiled back. What next? Cove did not appreciate being put on the spot. He was just as unsure as you were. Birthday party stuff? It didn't seem to be the time for cake, what with people still arriving. Nothing else seemed to be organizing yet either. He noticed that himself and tried again. We could find Miranda. That was an idea. It made sense to greet the birthday girl. Okay, we could say hello. Wish her happy birthday. Ask her what she wants people to do. This sounds good. We're socially awkward. We're so weird. With that point, it was decided. The Miranda hunt had begun. You wandered around. Anytime you saw someone with Miranda's hair color, you got a little closer, but more than once it turned out to not actually be her. Hey, look! Finally, he pointed over to the real Miranda. She smiled slightly when you both approached, but ducked her head. She seemed a little overwhelmed with being the center of attention today. Hi, Cove. Hi, Lane. Oh, nice. I love your hair. It's wonderful. Happy birthday. Happy birthday!
Thanks. I'm really glad you could come.
Thanks. I'm really glad you could come. Y'all stood awkwardly. Miranda did seem genuinely happy, but there was still distance between you. This is a great-looking party. Thank you. Is there something we need to do, or should we just hang out? Oh, well, you could talk to people, if you want. There are games that are going to start soon. This one was fully voiced, and I just talked right over you halfway. Miranda, I'm sorry. And the bounce house should open later if you feel like jumping. Then after that, it's cake and present time. We'll have ice cream, too. After that is when people will start going home. I hope that's okay with you guys. Cove nodded. He seemed a little more confident about the situation now. It's a plan. Thanks. He gave Miranda a thumbs up, and she smiled in return. She seemed slightly less uncomfortable. Miranda waited there, and you became hyper-aware of the silence forming. Apologies. Had to cough. That was not fun. You heard a shout for a Randy, and Miranda brightened up, a total 180 with how stiff she had been with you. Ah, I've got to talk to some more people. Bye! The birthday girl ran off to her friend, leaving you and Cove with at least a little more idea of what to expect. You glanced at each other wordlessly. You felt a little disappointed. It was going to be hard to get to know Miranda better with how in demand she was probably going to be today. Hopefully you'd get to talk with her later. All that was left now was finding something to fill time until the activities began. Let's see. You tried to chat with the people around. You just talked with Cove. You found a quiet spot to sit. You just stood around where you were. Let's see. What do I want to do with Lane? Probably top 3 things. Maybe just talking with Cove or finding a spot to sit. Those seem good to me. I could always roll a dice, should I so need to. Quiet spot? Yeah, we can find a quiet spot. We're gonna get loud later. It's a birthday party after all. Cove followed you to the edge of the party. He pointed out a bench near a tree, and you both sat down. It was far enough away from the crowd that it was peaceful as long as you blocked the sounds of kids shrieking. Suddenly, a loud voice boomed over the crowd. The constant buzz of conversation dropped as one of the adults, maybe Miranda's dad, asked the kids to gather around because it was game time. I wonder what's gonna happen. We could joke about something that isn't gonna happen, or we could scan the area to make a guess. I'm not a big fan of the not trying to answer a question asked. It's more fun if you actually do something. Let's make a joke. You made a joke about something that wasn't gonna happen. We're gonna play high stakes poker. It's obvious. Obvious, huh? Look at this crowd. Most of the guests were teenagers around your age, but there were also quite a few adults and some younger kids. Cove nodded sagely at a group of little kids. Yeah, these are high rollers. The adult announced that children under 10 had the first turn in the bounce house. For everyone else, it was time to play Pin the Tail on the Donkey. Cove raised his eyebrows. He was surprised, for sure. I'm gonna go with you thought this was kinda silly. Because Pin the Tail on the Donkey's a little silly, but I think it's fun. You thought it was kinda silly. It was such a kid's game. The fact that this was planned for a party full of teens is a little crazy. You reluctantly joined the line since that's what you were supposed to do, and you didn't feel like arguing. The donkey in question was a cartoony poster with big eyes that looked more like ping pong balls. It was positioned a few feet above the ground on a tree trunk. The teen who arrived first was blindfolded and then spun around. He was nudged to the side away from the other kids so he wouldn't stick someone with the tail instead. Unfortunately for him, he placed the tail on the donkey's head like some kind of bizarre earring. He wouldn't be winning that far from the target. The next opponent did far better by landing it on the donkey's back. The spectators clapped politely and the line moved up. More teens tried their hand at it. Some got closer than others, but no one had gotten it perfect yet. Soon it was Cove's turn. He was blindfolded and spun just like the others. At this point, it was a close match and everybody was watching with bated breath. Cove approached the donkey and stuck the tail on without any hesitation. Cove stood back and removed his blindfold, cheering when he saw how close he was. He turned his head over his shoulder and grinned at you. Your turn. I'm not gonna step out of line. I've been in line this whole time. No. I'm taking my turn. With the blindfold on, the bright park became utterly dark. As you were spun around, the sounds around you seemed to get louder. At least you could tell the direction of the bounce house from the shrieks of the younger children. You stopped spinning and stepped forward, tail in hand. It was time to give it a stab. We can be silly. How do you guys want to play pin the tail on the donkey? We can place it directly in front of us, to the right, to the left, up, or bend down and place it on the ground. I personally don't vote for, like, reaching up or bending down. Mainly because while we're tall, we're not that tall. And we're playing a game. And teenagers do get competitive. So I think it's one of the top ones. But in front of me? Alright, sounds good. You placed it directly in front of you. You pressed the tail into the target and stepped back. You took your blindfold off to check your results. There's a few oohs from the crowd and some irregular clapping. As soon as you could see clearly again, you realized you missed the mark by a lot. You caught a glimpse of Cove as you handed back the blindfold. He was pleased, no doubt feeling good that his tail was closer. A few more kids took their turn. One girl managed to somehow pin the tail on the opposite side of the tree. You were pretty sure it had to be on purpose. With the line empty, the game was finally over. The adult running things started to inspect the donkey. At this point, the sign was more tails than donkey. In the end, Cove was announced the winner with lots of smiles and applause. He grinned and seemed pretty proud of himself. He was handed a fistful of candy from the man in charge. Cove needed both of his hands to accept it all. Thanks! He tucked the candy into his pockets. It filled more than one. Congratulations! You did really good. I'm not a sore loser. Thanks. I feel kind of sorry for the donkey, though. You looked at the multi-tailed monstrosity and winced as you pictured how that would be on a real-life creature. Why not? He's your friend. You can ask. I've seen so many kids do that. You asked if he'd be willing to share the prize. Some of the treats looked really good, and surely if he didn't downsize his price, it was just gonna fall out of his pockets anyway. Could I have some of the candy? He shoved his hand into his pocket and pulled out some of his candy back out. Sure, it's not like I can eat it all. You smiled and chose a few of your favorites. You made sure to leave Cove the candies you knew he liked best. Friendship. The most beautiful thing. An older teen walked up, tall enough to tower over you and Cove. You felt a little intimidated by the stern-faced teenager until she started to speak. Her voice was low, but friendlier than her tough frown would suggest. Hi, I'm handing out party favors. Do you want one? She showed you party hats. She insisted they were the key to a true partying mood. She had two options. either a colorful headband with 2 tiny party hats arranged almost like ears, or a tiara with a star on it. They were both very festive.
It's okay.
No thanks. You knew the teen hadn't actually glared at him. Her default facial expression just seemed grim. I'm gonna just say my name is Star Sailor 7. There's a crown with a star on it. I am picking the crown with a star on it. You pointed to the crown, and the teenager passed it over to you with the solemnness of crowning a monarch. Should we get Cove to wear a party hat? Do you think he was just nervous, or do you think it was genuine not wanting? Because I can see both. Like, he doesn't want to pick one without somebody else doing stuff. And nobody else is there to back him up this time like they were with the ice cream in the kitty one at the barbecue. But it could also be teenager genuine dislike of wanting to wear things or not wanting to wear things on his head. I kind of think it would be fun. Yeah, it might be genuine, but we can always encourage, and if he says no, he says no, and that's fair. You held a pink headband hat in one hand and a crown in the other. You tried to imagine what they'd look like on Cove. You really should try it. It'd be great. Cove looked back at the hats, then at you. With a sigh, he grabbed hold of one. The team at the hats clapped as much as she could with all the hats in her hands. The unknown teenager nodded approvingly at both of you. At you both, and went to pass out more hats to more people. You put the party hat on your head with a simple smile, and it fit well. It was surprisingly comfortable. It really completes your look. When did you get so fashionable? He smirked, and you just adjusted your new accessory. I'm a party animal now. It does look very good on me, thanks. It's not the last one. I like being like, no, I like the way it looks. So, like, I'm feeling great. It does look good on me. Thanks. You looked him straight in the eye, and he seemed unsure of how to handle that reaction to his statement. He floundered for a second, until he came up with a response. You don't have to brag. He struck a pose, and he rolled his eyes. He's so cute. Do you think he would have gotten the other one if I had picked the double pom-pom hat? Do you think it would have been the crown with the star on it? If so, a different playthrough I will see this. It's cute! Cove finally put his own hat on. He was nervous about it, his face uncertain. I don't know about this. I feel kinda silly. Does it look weird? You're cute! I'm gonna tell you the truth. You look great, Cove. Oh. Thanks. He readjusted his hat bashfully. It's cute! It's so cute! After that, the people in charge quickly set up the next game. Teenagers milled about until they were told to find partners. You tried to listen to the rules, straining your ears to listen to the adult announcing what you were supposed to do. It was a simple game. One person in a pair would throw candy while the other had to catch it in their mouth. If they caught it, the pair would move on to the next round, where everyone would take a step back and their former catcher would become the thrower. The game would continue, the players getting further and further until one set of partners were the only ones left standing, or everyone lost in a round. About half of the guests had already found partners. They moved fast. You noticed Cove had his eyes on you. Could we be partners? Neither of you were all that familiar with anyone else here. It'd be the safe choice to pair up. I'm gonna play the party games. You agreed to be Cove's partner. Let's do it, partner. Cool. He beamed, and you started wondering about your respective candy catching capabilities. 2 rows of players facing each other formed. Cove tilted his head towards them, and you started to head over. You both lined up directly in front of each other. It took a while to pass out the candy. You were handed a small bag of gummies that smelled strongly fruity. You noticed Cove took it upon himself to do a taste test of a red one across from you. They're not bad. I'm gonna try one too. You ended up grabbing a purple gummy. It was sweet, and you guessed it was supposed to be grape flavored, but it was mostly just really sugary. Then it was time to begin. Cove's row was set to throw first. He smiled nervously, his eyes wide with seriousness. You grinned widely, and he seemed to relax a little. The game was on. The adult in charge shouted for the throws to go. You and Cove were only a couple feet away from each other. With Cove's careful toss, you caught the candy easily. Like you, most of the other players moved on to the next round. There were a few gaps in the rows as everyone took a step back. The round was harder with the pairs further apart, but not overly so. It could be done if both partners tried. You had fun with it, but still tried, because we're not going to be like super try-hardy, but we're still trying. Not at this stage, anyway. You grabbed a candy and wanted to do a trick shot. Cove must have noticed something in your expression because he raised an eyebrow. You threw the blue candy from hand to hand, then high into the air. Very quickly, as it was coming down, you slapped it towards Cove. He jerked to the side to catch it. Despite his worry, your shot had landed true. Cove laughed with amazement at your toss, or at the fact that he had caught it, or possibly both. Cute little hat, party hat, it's adorable. From his face, you know he was at least excited to get to the next round. The next round began, and you took another step back. Cove was even further away now, but he made an okay sign. He was in this to win it. Around you, the once packed rows of players had thinned out some. You wondered how many rounds everyone had left in them. Cove swung his arm and made eye contact with you. You nodded, and the green candy flew towards you. You followed the arc of the candy. I'm doing my best now because he wants to play to win. He's doing a good job. And opened your mouth wide. It had a slight spin on it, and you tilted your head left to compensate. You bit down on the candy, grinning with your victorious catch. It tasted sweet and vaguely like a Slurpee. Yeah, Lane! Cove was thrilled. He was entirely invested in the game at this point. You and Cove were still in the game. You knew this was the final round. Only a few other pairs were still left. Cove was determined to win. You could see it in the clench of his jaw, the careful way he watched you. Let's see. I personally don't think Lane would be too bothered by winning or losing as seen with the piñata game, but I don't want to let him down, so... This game meant something to Cove, and you respected that. You were going to be here for your partner, and if you wanted to win, well, you needed to try your best. Cove gave you a firm grin, and you prepared to throw. Your fingers grabbed an orange gummy from the bag. It felt solid in your grasp, even if your hand was starting to get sticky from touching all the sugary sweets. Cove leaned his face towards you and bent his knees, ready to catch. The time came. You looked at the candy, then Cove. You tried your best. The candy flew like a missile straight towards him. Cove almost stumbled forward trying to get it right, but your aim was perfect. He got it into his mouth. A wide grin spread on his face as Cove victoriously chomped down on the candy. Yes! Along with the cheer, he jumped up in excitement and pumped one arm. You looked to your left, then your right, to see the few remaining pairs walking away, commiserating over their losses. With some shock, you realized you and Cove were the only ones who made it that round. You won. You watched the moment Cove clicked into the same realization. His face brightened like sunshine, and he jogged over to close the distance between you. You stepped closer to meet him halfway. I'm gonna hug him. I think it's... Let me hug you, boy. You didn't let me hug you last time, so... His eyes went big when he realized you were going for a hug. He smiled and caught you, hugging you back tightly. You'd won this together. He giddily stomped his feet in place in front of you as though he couldn't contain his energy. We did it! You adjusted the hat that had nearly fallen off throughout the event. Nice catch! Nice throw! The game runner strolled over and merrily gave you both a bunch more candy on top of letting you keep the gummy bags. It was quite the collection. Cove laughed over just how much candy you both had acquired. Between this game and Pin the Tail on the Donkey, you were swimming in sugar now. With the candy toss over, you were going to need something else to do. You didn't have to wait long. You heard someone in the crowd shout that the bounce house was officially open for the older kids. You and Cove shared a look. Cove smiled and you knew he wanted in. Brother, Cove, I need you to tell me where you put your candy in your pockets. Did you put them in secured pockets? Because you're going to be shaking it out all over this place if you don't have it secured. You both ran over to the bouncy castle and kicked your shoes off. You crawled into the inflated castle with Cove hot on your heels. There were a couple other teens inside already. You started to get a feel for bouncing. Cove hopped from middle to the side and back. Just after you landed from a particularly high jump, someone else snuck in. It was the birthday girl herself. Hi, Miranda. Hi, birthday girl. Miranda looked happy. She waved both her hands at you with a megawatt grin. I hope you're having fun. She hopped around with her hands in front of her like a kangaroo. It was a surprisingly effective way to clear distance in the bounce house. She then jumped high, kicking both her legs out to the side and touched the tips of her toes with her fingers. Wow! Miranda hadn't run out of tricks yet. She jumped a couple more times, gaining height before doing a backflip and tucking into a ball. She managed to land on her feet, but didn't stick the landing. She tumbled back and fell on her butt. Cove clapped and Miranda inclined her head, almost like a bow. She was back to jumping in no time. You're so good at this! She bounced close enough to the two of you to talk without shouting across the way. Cove's bouncing slowed down to accommodate their conversation. My family gets these every year, and we have a trampoline in the backyard. That's really cool. Miranda giggled a bit, and her eyes sparkled. Hey, I can launch someone if you want. If I jump in front of you, then your bounce will go higher. Lane. Okay, launch me. Sure. Miranda leaped over to you, her excitement clear on her face. Cove watched with interest. She explained more clearly how this was supposed to work. You got ready to bounce on her cue. 3, 2, 1! The moment she came down, you jumped high. The force of her, just as she had said, helped launch you up. The air rushed past your face, and then you were coming back down. Your feet hit the bounce house hard enough to help launch Miranda up a little as well. She giggled some more, and the two of you took turns bouncing each other up. Cove clapped or offered suggestions, but it was becoming clear that he wanted a turn too. Miranda invited him to join and tried to synchronize your bounces to launch Cove up super high. The first time resulted in everyone crashing down into a pile of laughs. By the fifth attempt, Cove managed to catch serious airtime. Woo! You all had fun bouncing around. You twirled, Miranda did stunts, Cove futilely tried to touch the highest tip in the castle's ceiling. You and Cove chatted to Miranda more than you ever had at school. She truly was the queen of this bouncy castle. Whenever someone did something cool, everyone would cheer. If you fell, others would help you up. Eventually, more people wanted to take turns in the bounce house, so you and Cove left. As you slipped on your shoes, you saw Miranda get drawn into conversation with a group of adults. She would be talking to them for a while. You and Cove decided to take a break and hydrate. You went to the party table and grabbed some ice water. Cove handed you a party noisemaker he picked up from the same table. He blew on his and it made a funny sound when it unrolled. Honking. Cove downed his drink in a couple gulps. He had gotten pretty into bouncing after all. You were still sipping on your water when Cove blew on his noisemaker again. Then again. And again. It was almost a tune. You didn't recognize any particular melody, but the noisemaker also isn't an instrument. The noise cut through the hum of the other party guests, loud and noticeable. You are challenging me to noisemaker fight? Noisemaker fight you challenge me to? You blew your noisemaker back at Cove. You blew hard enough to unfurl the paper completely straight. It jutted towards Cove, almost tapping his chin. Cove wasn't going to let that stand. He retaliated and blew his back at you. It nearly touched your nose. It was a game now. Both of you tried to land a light hit on the other. Cove managed to get your chin while you scored him right in between the eyes.
Oh, great. You people again.
Oh, wonderful. Hi, Jeremy. It was the voice actor for Jeremy, the awful little green boy who I'm going to fist fight in the parking lot if he does bullshit again. Oh, great. You people again. Someone vaguely familiar shouted, and you snapped your head to the side. Cove's noisemaker dropped from his mouth. The speaker stepped up, and there was no doubt. It was Jeremy, that mean boy you met at the start of summer. Alright. Groaned at the sight of him. Oh hey, it's the bowl cut kid. You felt very uncomfortable and didn't know what to do. You instantly got angry. You tried to ignore Jeremy, or you tried being polite. Personally, I do not think it's going to be this one, or angry, so I don't think it's going to be polite or angry. But I feel like every other one is accurate to what might possibly happen, mainly because I already tried being polite, and he started the conversation with, "Oh, it's you people," so I'm not going to be polite at him. Groan at him? Absolutely. We'll groan at him. You groaned at the sight of him. It might have been rude, but you did not want to deal with Jeremy right now, or any time really. Why are you here? Cove's tone was defensive. You watched Jeremy's face turn slack as if Cove's question was the idiocy above all idiocies. Didn't I already explain this? He hadn't, so both you and Cove exchanged a look. Do you have memory loss, or are you really that stupid? Seriously.
Walk here.
I didn't walk here. My parents brought me. Apparently I couldn't just stay inside like I wanted. No, they insisted that I get out and enjoy the day and have fun on vacation. Blah, blah, blah. He said enjoy the day and have fun on vacation, like some people would say scrub the entire bathroom, or listen to an off-key singer for 10 hours. They found a park, 'cause I hate the beach. Too bad I also hate parks. Ugh, it's dirty here. They don't know anything. I feel a cough coming on, so give me a second. Okay. You just don't like anything, and you're crashing somebody's birthday, so, like, get out of here. Oh, and then they saw this stupid party and decided to bother some adults by asking what was going on. They think maybe we could be included. It's moronic. Get it now? That's how my parents are. Annoying and embarrassing. Why would anybody want strangers at their birthday? Why can't they ever just leave things alone? He huffed loudly, and his eyes shot daggers at some grown-ups that were presumably his parents. I don't think I'm gonna respond, because Lane does not like this boy, and does not really want to engage with him at all. So you didn't bother trying to respond to that mess of a rant. This was not your problem, and you wanted to keep it that way. Jeremy's eyes slipped away from you to take in the rest of the party. For a bit. It was a little awkward. It was possible. He didn't know what to do, but then he spoke again.
So dumb.
How can people really go around in those embarrassing party hats? Do they think it's fun or something? How could a human being be so dumb? It's just kind of nice to do party stuff. Jeremy scoffed, unimpressed. The expression on his face was nasty as he spoke. I'm not surprised an empty-headed person like you would think that. Jeremy looked over at you, completely dismissive. It's so rude you can't help but feel offended. Cove's face hardened. He seemed more offended than when anyone actually insulted him personally. Just because you don't know how to be happy doesn't mean no one else does. It's not our fault if you hate everything, and it's not okay for you to take it out on Lane. They aren't doing anything wrong. You are. Jeremy seemed unfazed by Cove's defense and sniffed. Lane can humiliate themselves on their own. They don't need you to step in and do it for them. I'm so tempted to do, like, one of these. I could water him. Or I could just decide to blow my party horn at him. Which, I want to pick him up and put him in a trash can. I know it's bullying, but, like, when you are this hater supreme, I kind of want to put you where you belong. Into trash. Because I don't think Lane would tear up. Because, like, person who is on my side, your words literally mean nothing to me. I'm not going to be shocked. We already had a confrontation with you and you were just, like, absolutely, utterly stupid. I'm not going to punch you. Might push you, I might pour my drink on you since I know it's just ice water. But I think it would be more fun if I party horned you to death. So I'm going to party horn you. You drown out his words with your noisemaker. You're both doot. You're doot doot doot. It didn't take long for him to piece together that you weren't going to let him speak without interruption. How stupid. He shut his mouth, though, and finally stopped talking. This one's another hard one. I feel like saying you're ruining someone's birthday, telling his parents that he just doesn't want to be here and is being hateful supreme. This one already didn't work. I'm not gonna laugh at him being mean, and so basically saying nothing, finding his parents, or ruining someone's birthday. What do you guys think? Because he is, but he's only ruining it for us so far because he knows us, so he's going to come talk to us instead of sulking on the sidelines. However, he's a bit of a jerk, and he might say something to the actual birthday girl, which would hurt her feelings. Telling his parents, this is true. He isn't going to listen. You are absolutely correct, Eclectic, so he gets nothing from me. People were starting to watch at what was going down. Your argument wasn't exactly quiet at this point. Why don't you just leave us alone if we're so awful? Jeremy glared even more and huffed. Talking to you is pointless, dumbasses. He stalked off like last time you saw him, muttering under his breath. You blew your noisemaker after him with a final long doot. Cove sighed in relief after Jeremy was gone. He relaxed, but only for a moment. He noticed how much attention you'd drawn from the other guests. Luckily, it hadn't gone on long enough to get a real crowd. A concerned lady and a concerned adult in a blue button-up shirt approached you and asked who that was and if everyone was alright. I'm fine. Cove looked at you cautiously, asking just as much as the adult if you were okay. It's cool. Not what I would call fun, but I'll live. The concerned adult lingered for a few seconds but nodded and left you alone. The Jeremy fiasco was officially over. Cove rubbed his eyes, clearly ready to put all that nonsense behind him. Then he started laughing. It was a surprised laugh, breaking out of his chest without any actual joy. It was nervous and disbelieving, and all the complex emotions brought out by one meeting with Jeremy. I can't believe it. He spoke in fits and starts. The look on his face after you started with the... It was hilarious. How can Jeremy be like that? He shouted at us. He barely knows us, and it was a birthday party for somebody who's never met. Honestly, at this point, I think Lane hopes that you would never see him again. You hoped you would never see him again. I just never want to see him again. Cove seemed to think about his next words carefully before he spoke. I don't think that it matters what we do around him. Jeremy's gonna yell no matter what. We shouldn't worry about it. Do you want to tell your moms? About Jeremy, I mean? He always picks a fight. Maybe they'd know how to handle someone like him. Thanks for asking. Yeah, I'll bring it up to the moms. Because then if parents try to wheedle their way in and they notice it's green-haired boy named Jeremy, they're gonna say, no, he keeps picking fights with my kids. Because Lane is also their kid. Lane is their kid and so is Cove. I'll let them know everything.
All right.
Okay. I'm dropping the topic because I have told Cove that he looks good in the party hat, and I don't think it's bad. I think we're both having fun. You decided to drop the topic. Finally, you bent over to pick up the noisemaker that Cove dropped when Jeremy appeared. It might be too dirty to use now, but you didn't want to leave it there. He accepted it softly when you offered the little favor back to him. Thanks, Lane. I like how we can be there for each other. It makes me feel better about that kind of stuff when it happens. Yeah, me too. I got into a fight with him over you, and he got into a fight with him over me. Cove suggested that you should find a seat at one of the tables. It was almost cake time and he wanted to be prepared. It was a good reminder that the party wasn't over yet. Cake! I think that table works. It's closest to the refreshments at least. You and Cove tried to settle down after the last event. You took seats across from one another at one of the park tables. There were a few attempts to chat, but for the most part, you simply watched the adults run around and set up the cake cutting. There was a minor panic when who you assumed was Miranda's dad apparently forgot the lighter for the candles. He and another man went through and started asking the other adults for matches or lighters. They weren't having any luck until a grim-faced teenager who had been passing out party hats pulled a green lighter out of the ice cream cooler. Why the lighter was put in the cooler remained a mystery, but with party hat girls fined, it was time to get things going again. Miranda sat at the head of the longest table. A large chocolate cake was set in front of her. She lit all 14 candles with the cooler lighter with a big smile. Wow, they let her do it herself? Nice. The adults started singing Happy Birthday and the rest of the guests joined in. At the end of the song, Miranda blew out the candles with a dedicated huff. She closed her eyes and you saw her silently mouthing something. Maybe it was a birthday wish. Miranda cut her own slice, and then one of the grown-ups took over cutting the cake. Wow, they're letting her have full reign over her birthday cake. She gets to light it, she probably got to pick it, and the flavor and stuff. And then she gets to cut her own slice? My gosh. Another adult passed around plates of cake slices with a scoop of vanilla ice cream to the guests. Eventually, the cake got around to you and Cove. Cove was pleased with the treat in general. The cake looked rich and moist. It smelled quite chocolatey. I'm gonna eat both. Birthday cake, while you're a child, is one of the best things. You took a bite of ice cream. The vanilla wasn't bad, but it was a little bland. The chocolate cake, however, was a rich flavor. Cove then took his fork and started mashing up some of his cake. When the cake resembled a pile of crummy chunks, he started mixing it into the ice cream. The melted part of the ice cream made kind of a chocolate cake soup. I've never done that, but now I want to. How does it taste? Really good, but it's better with brownies. Boy after my own heart. That sounds really good, actually. He grinned and took a bite of his own mix. Cave contentedly chowed down on his concoction. One advantage to this mix was that the ice cream seemed to catch most of the crumbs that would usually fall from eating cake. Unlike some of the kids around him, Cove's shirt remained clean. You started eating your dessert in earnest. You enjoyed yourself plenty. Cove suddenly put his fork down on his plate and stared up at the sky with a faraway expression. You checked, but didn't see anything attention-grabbing. The ice cream is better than... this ice cream is better than those ones in cups, you know, with the little wooden spoons. But I still kind of want that instead. You remembered what kind he was talking about. Oh yeah, like the ones handed out at the barbecue before the fireworks happened. Right. Cove smiled nostalgically at the thought. You could picture a younger Cove for a moment with the same look in his eyes. Yeah, I don't think Lane has a crush phase, but I do think Lane is like gonna end up in love with this dude. He keeps doing stuff like this. I just think the crush phase is skipped, which is fine. I appreciate that. You offer him a bite of your dessert. You want any of mine? Cove raised his eyebrows for half a second before the realization came. Laughter burst out of him. Yeah, I remember that part too. He told him you're serious. Really? Cove, let's share. Cove shook his head over that. It was clear that he thought this was a little silly, but he was willing to go along with it for your sake. He grabbed your fork and took a bite with an affectionate, soft expression. He couldn't believe you were like this. You smiled. Thanks, Cove. Miranda then started to open her gifts. She systematically attacked the mountain of presents like a pro. She checked for any cards and read them loudly before opening a gift. She smiled at every present, including the ones you and Cove got her. You were glad the presents were accepted. It took time, but eventually Miranda got through all the gifts. She was very sweet and polite throughout it all. The party went until the sun began to set. By that point, most of everything had settled down and people had begun to leave. Any of the guests whose parents had stayed for the party were already gone, except for Miranda's family. Only a few kids still waiting for their parents to come and get them remained, you and Cove included. Miranda's family were cleaning up, and as a guest, neither you nor Cove were supposed to help with that. Instead, you both had decided to take it easy in the bouncy castle. It was somewhere out of the way where you could casually wait for your ride. Miranda had also elected to hang out with you. You weren't even bouncing anymore. Cove laid on his side with his back to the wall, and Miranda sat across from him with her legs stretched out. You had also made yourself comfortable. It was nice and warm in the little building. It also felt like you had some privacy, which was nice. You could all speak openly here. Thanks for coming. She looked down but continued shyly. It's been really cool to get to hang out with you a little bit. Thanks for letting me come. I didn't think I'd be invited. I'm so happy I could come. Miranda just smiled a little more. So, did you notice anything happening earlier? With some people you didn't know showing up? She had to think about this question a little. It was apparent that she didn't have an encounter with Jeremy since there was no instant recognition. I heard about something. Some other parents were talking to my parents when their kid came and forced them to leave the park. She tilted her head to the side, finding it weird but also not important. Then everyone had cake and ice cream. Cove smiled uncomfortably. That's good. He was clearly worried that the Jeremy confrontation could have gotten to her. Luckily, it didn't seem that anyone had overheard or passed along Jeremy's cruel words. Cove rolled over on his back and sighed contentedly. Miranda seemed confused, but wasn't going to push. I'm not going to ruin her birthday. I could bounce. Yeah, you know what? I'm a bounce. You clambered to your feet and hopped in place. Miranda lit up and followed your lead. Yeah, that's what I thought. She's a bouncy girl. You both started leaping around and trying tricks. Cove sighed and attempted to stay down, but you could see the moving floor was jostling him. He wasn't going to get any rest down there. Cove, could we launch you? We're almost bouncing you from over there. I want to see what would happen if we actually tried to on purpose. Bounce, bounce, baby. She's a bounce girl. She did not have an interaction with Jeremy, and so we are ignoring it, and we're moving on. And by moving on, I mean moving our bodies and bouncing. Cove agreed and rolled to the center of the bounce house. You and Miranda took your places on either side of him and started bouncing. It was hard to synchronize your jumps exactly. Once you got your timing down, you were able to launch Cove a few feet in the air while he remained in a cross-legged position. All three of you giggled. Eventually, Cove decided to get up for real and join the act of jumping. You played around together until it was time to go home. At the end of the day, you thought it had been quite the party. Yay! Alright. Now, since we have an audience, what would the audience like to do? We have done one from every single selection. We have wave, growing, dinner, road trip, mall, summer work, escapade, responsible, lemonade, or boardwalk left. I am saving the soirees till the end, and I'm wondering if they're connected, like if I click this one will also be triggered, since I believe it is the same event, and that is the one that was recommended we end on. So, anything but soiree is open. I will go over the list again. Wave, growing, dinner, road trip. Oh, we got wave. Let's do a wave then. Surfing USA. The family shopping trip had lasted most of the morning, and you still had to unload everything from the truck before you could go enjoy the afternoon. You cradled another bag in your arms as you headed towards your house. It was one of the heavier bags from the grocery store, loaded with fresh apples, ripe tomatoes, a bunch of carrots, and even half a watermelon. Yeah, that would make it heavy. Ma came out the front door and paused just ahead of you. Need any help with that, Lane? I can bring it in the rest of the way if you want me to. No, I've got it. You were doing fine. Even if it was large, it wasn't really any problem for you. Ma gave you an encouraging grin and rustled her fingers through your black hair. Only part of it's black. The other half is gray. You set the next bag down on the counter. Your older sister began to root around inside for the contents with a sigh. How much is left? Still a few more bags. With a huff and a puff, Elizabeth continued putting away the groceries, and you retreated out of the kitchen before you could become a target of her bad mood. Careful, Lane! You hadn't been looking where you were going and bumped right into Mom, almost stepping on her toes to boot. Sorry! I can give you a pass this time, but be sure to watch where you're going. If you run into the wrong person, you might get your license revoked. She grinned at the bad joke as you continued through the door. Wow. Door did not want to come out of my mouth. Outside, Ma had started organizing what remained and putting back any loose objects that had fallen out during the trip. When you stepped up to the trunk beside her, she took a big breath of air, her dress gently swaying around in the breeze. It's a shame we had to spend the morning cooped up in that shopping center. It's a beautiful day, don't you think? You tilted your head to the sky, gazing at the clear blue expanse. Very fun. Yes. We have two options for yes, we like days like today. Yeah, it is. It's a nice day. Days like today are my favorite. It's too hot. I wish it was raining. I like when it's stormy the best. I don't know what Lane would like, weather-wise. But I think I'm going to go with one of the positive answers, because it's a nice clear day, and sunny days are nice. Yeah, sunny days are nice. You closed your eyes and enjoyed the way the sun warmed your face for a few moments before turning back to help Ma with the groceries. Oh, hi, Cove! You noticed Mom wave over at Cove, who had just exited his front door, his surfboard propped up under one arm. Let me see. Surfboard and wetsuit. Where might you be off to on this beautiful day? Cove flinched at being called to so suddenly. He hadn't realized there were people out here already, but he quickly recovered. Good one, Mrs. Woodrow. He crossed the pavement to properly say hello to you and to your moms. Hello, honey. It's a beautiful day for surfing. I haven't been out on the waves in a long time. I'm jealous. Cove smiled, pleased to have people around who shared his hobby. Yeah, I'm hoping to get a few good waves before it gets dark. Do you want to come hang out there later, Lane? Sure, I'll meet you there when we're done, 'cause we're friends, and I want to see you surfing. Oboe roll, wetsuit. Cool. Can I help out with anything? No, this is our job. You go enjoy the beach. Lane can catch up as soon as they're finished here. Alright, I'll see you. Yeah! You watched as Cove headed off towards the beach, unable to hide your grin, knowing that you'd be joining him soon. Once everything had been taken in and put away, you got yourself ready to meet Cove at the beach. Let's see. Alright, so let's see. We can have a surfboard in our room that we want to take with us. We have a family surfboard around here somewhere. Obvious, as stated by the mother over here with the purple hair. You weren't sure what you were going to do. He was surfing and you didn't know how. Which could theoretically be true. Because Mom has not been down on the waves, and would she have taught us? I don't know. Personally, I think it's probably one of the bottom two, mainly because we sort of described Lane in the meeting with Cove's mother 2 episodes ago. Or rather, 2 streams back. You think Lane is a surfer? Alright, we'll do a family surfboard. Your family had a surfboard around here somewhere. Can I take your board to the beach? Sure, it's in the garage. Just remember to keep the leash on when you're in the water. After finding the board in the back of the garage and getting everything ready, you headed down to the beach. Have fun, honey. Stay safe. When you arrived at the shore, you were greeted by the crash of waves and the soft calls of seagulls. You took in a lungful of the ocean air and felt your tan skin warm in the sun. You noticed a small setup nearby with a towel, some sunscreen, and a bottle of water. It must be Cove's. You spotted Cove himself nearby. He hadn't gone out to sea yet. He was just sitting in the sand at the water's edge, his board propped up beside him. You ran up beside him. Hey, you waiting for someone? Lane! He looked up at you with a smile and quickly hopped to his feet. I was wondering if you were still coming. And stay inside all day? I don't think so. You were able to make him laugh with that. Then he cast his eyes out toward the waves. Alright. Going off of Eclectic's last statement, where Lane probably would be a surfer, but obviously the family has a surfboard over everything else. I think I'm gonna say they're not that good at surfing. Well, we have the beach and everything out here. If we don't have enough time for lessons and the family doesn't do that many excursions to the beach, knowing that we don't because Lizzie had little golf things that Lizzie was doing when Lizzie was Lizzie and not Elizabeth. I will do... Cove, I'm not that good at surfing. You dragged your toe through the sand, feeling silly, but still worried nonetheless. He gave a bent smile. So, we're just gonna have fun, right? Yeah. His words made you feel better, and the two of you headed into the water together. You paddled out into the sea, where the good waves were. The water was cool against your skin. Not too calm, but nothing crazy. It looks perfect today. You couldn't help but... He smiled at you, and you couldn't help but smile back. You felt totally content. Until Cove kicked the water a little too hard, and it inadvertently splashed you. Hey! Sorry. The apology did not come across as especially repentant, as he was practically laughing when he said it. Splashing back. You laughed, but waited for an opening for revenge. The second he looked away, you kicked back, spraying him. It quickly devolved into a splash war. You had no idea who was winning at the point when the ocean decided to throw its weight around and doused you both with a tall wave. Cove laughed, his smile infectious. You couldn't help but join in. Draw? Yeah. You nodded at one another from your boards, bringing the war to a peaceful end. Cove pointed out into the distance. You followed his finger to see some nice-looking waves. Hey, let's get going. You agreed. No doubt there was room for you to do something good. You were ready to have some fun. You started taking on waves. Cove tried out a few tricks, and you got into the rhythm of finding just the right waves. Have you ever thought of what the fish and other ocean animals think we're doing here? Have you? Not really. Okay. Assumed that was all he was going to say on the topic. He started to turn away to paddle to the next wave when he spoke again. Oh, that's weird. Cove reached into the water and pulled out something small and brown. Was it a tiny stick? A clothespin? Cove looked at it with disbelief. He blinked slowly, then raised to the clothespin with a mischievous look in his eye. I guess it's needed. How else would the dolphins hang up their flippers? They've got to be stored somehow. That was terrible on any scale. Please don't. You're adorable. I'm not sure that even counts as a pun. I love it. I'm gonna say you're adorable, because I think that is adorable. You're adorable. Cove reddened and pinched the clothespin open and closed as he looked away from you. You played around for the rest of the afternoons. It was bad, but he's also cute. And he's getting rid of the trash that's in the ocean, so I think it's adorable. Good all around. Good all around. He played around for the rest of the afternoon and kept chatting in between the waves. He thought about how you had surfed today. Yeah. Alright, you absolutely rocked it. The waves loved you today. You did pretty good. You're definitely improving. You were okay today. Nothing special. You were reminded there was a reason why you needed practice. I'm thinking between definitely improving and okay. What do you guys think? Mainly because, well, we do play around on the beach a lot. I didn't really say Lane was super duper physically into anything when I had my control over what Lane's hobbies were. Yeah. A while ago, you never would have been able to ride some of today's waves. You really were learning. If you kept this up, who knew how good you'd be at the end of summer? Cove gave you a lot of encouragement about your performance. What an afternoon! The setting sun was visible on the horizon. Every time you would look away, it had sunk a little lower. The beach was darkening, but still pleasantly warm. You knew you should get out of the water before it was completely dark in the sea. You rode one last wave to get back to the beach. There you picked up your surfboard and gave it a quick once-over. Cove followed behind you to the shore. He put his board with the other things and grabbed his towel to start drying off. As he ruffled his hair with the towel, you watched the sunset together. The colors were beautiful in the distance and the shadows around you deepened. There was no need for words between you two as you both enjoyed the sight for a moment. Cove broke the silence. The waves were good today, I think. Yeah, totally. He nodded mildly. You've gotten so good. You couldn't help but smile at the praise. It meant a lot coming from him. You chatted a little more until the conversation truly died out and all you heard was the rhythmic sound of waves. Cove sighed. The day can't be over. Not yet. He scowled into the distance as if the sun exiting the sky was a personal offense. Don't you think it should be longer? Man, I had fun, but I also feel accomplished, so I feel like today was pretty good. But at the same time, I get where you're coming from, so I'm gonna do a shrug. Only a shrug could express your feelings on that matter. Cove stood up straight in defiance of the approaching darkness. I'm not gonna go home yet. I want to go somewhere. I don't know. Cove was still dripping in salt water, so you weren't sure what the alternative was. Wetsuits were fine for the beach and not much else. It wasn't a good idea for him to lug his surfboard around town either. We'll sure be welcome anywhere soaking wet like this. Cove finally took note of his current state and laughed. He shrugged. Then he looked down the shore with wide, shining eyes. There is at least one place that's always okay to hang out in, no matter what time it is. The park. You nodded. The park was always virtually empty. Even Elizabeth only went over there nowadays if she was looking for you. How times have changed. She used to be so protective of the place. In fact, the only person there was a chance of running into might be that Jeremy kid again. He brought the idea up to Cove and he cringed, but I'm still going. The sun is still there, a little. I'm staying out as long as it is. He tagged along. Okay, let's go. Cove took a minute to put his stuff in order. He made sure to get it all, though he didn't take much care to shake the sand off. You dealt with your own things. Take my time. 'Cause making sure everything is correctly put away and not gross is a good thing. The two of you finished at about the same time. As a final touch, Cove plucked his glasses off the beach and put them back on his face. He looked more like himself now. He led the way down the beach to the park. It wasn't far, so it didn't take you long at all. The sun still hadn't completely disappeared just yet when you two made your arrival. Cove stuck his surfboard upright in the sand and tossed his towel over top. By now, the two of you were mostly dry. The summer breeze on your skin kept you pleasantly warm. Cove idly went over to the monkey bars. He grabbed them, feet flat on the ground, and pretended to go across. He had definitely grown in the past few years. You had also outgrown the monkey bars. You were way too tall to play on them properly anymore. When he got to a bar in the middle, Cove pulled himself up through and then sat on top of the bars. His legs dangled off the side of the bar he perched on. I'm gonna sit on the swings. You sat right down on a free seat and started swinging your legs. First slowly, but then you added more power to your kicks. Air rushed past your face and ruffled your hair. You built up enough momentum to let it carry you. It was a lazy arc, not high or fast, perfect for having a conversation. Guess what? He smiled broadly and raised an eyebrow. He's not here! Right? It was true. There wasn't a single sign of Jeremy. Looks like it was just going to be the two of you tonight. Cove hung his head and groaned dramatically. Your eyes widened when he whipped his head back up. I can't believe how dumb my parents are for forcing me to come to this stupid place. You were taken aback and blinked for a second before you realized he was quoting Jeremy. Don't scare me like that. One Jeremy is enough. Cove chuckled back at you, a mischievous glint in his eyes. You looked around. The old park, the streets you knew like the back of your hand, and the beach. These were your stomping grounds. You wondered how much Cove actually felt. How much was his joke just a joke, and how much was sincere dislike of this place. Moving had never been his choice. I know you don't think it's dumb, 'cause I honestly know uncertainty. That was his genuine opinion. Well, I did. I know he doesn't. I don't. What do you think? What do you think we feel about the neighborhood? Yeah, I like it too. Well, at least one person likes it here, which I don't think Lane would say. You nodded. Well, of course, I'm here after all. You're the best thing in the neighborhood. To my friend. I don't know. I think all of it's cute. I see. We have a coin flip situation. I'll roll my dice for it then. Evens will do I'm here, and odds will do I like it too. We got a 5, so it's yeah, I like it too. A contented feeling fell between the two of you. It didn't take long for the day to finally draw to a close. The sun was gone, and it was dark. You chatted a while longer, but it was definitely winding down. Am I gonna enjoy the silence? Am I gonna be responsibles? Or am I gonna finally agree with what he said on the beach and wish days were longer too? Personally, I'm more for a responsibles. We better get home. Or choosing to be chill. But I can see all of these, which is nice. One of my favorites, actually. Alright. Days were longer then. I wish days were longer. I wish this day was longer. He kicked his feet. His feet kicked out. It made him look like a pouty child. Oh well. Cove sighed. It was time to go home. He hopped down from the monkey bars with a thump when his feet hit the ground. You stopped moving your legs and stood when the swing slowed down. The chains rattled and the swing smacked into you a bit, its energy not entirely spent. Cove grabbed his surfboard and threw his towel around his neck. With his water bottle in hand, he was ready. You both began your trek up the road. It was a quiet night and you didn't run into anyone else. In what felt like no time at all, you had reached your street. As you walked, Cove smiled to himself. It was a soft expression and you couldn't help but wonder what put it there. Hey, don't keep all that thinking to yourself. I just remember when we were younger, it used to be such a big deal to come home after dark. You could indeed recall. If you got sandy, your parents would have something to say. If you got wet, your parents would have more to say. And if you came home after dark, well, your moms and his dad better have said it was okay beforehand. You used to need permission for everything. That small comment he made exposed just how much freedom you really had this summer. Cove looked up into the sky, a smile still on his face as the two of you walked side by side, reminiscing. When you came to your houses, you turned to each other. Thanks for today, Lane. Thanks for the awesome day. Cove waved and you both turned around to your respective houses. This was a pleasant end to the outing, you thought. Alright. I think we have one more for on this page, but I think these ones will probably be longer. I know the siblings one was really long, and I don't know, but these ones seemed fairly short. If we wanted to do one more, or if people felt they were done, we could be done, and I will save and do stuff else. I have a little more energy, which is why I say probably not anything on this page, because I'm pretty sure these are going to be longer because Derek doesn't have as much, but I also don't know that for a fact. So maybe I should just save and continue tomorrow. Do you guys have any opinions? Are you starting to get tired? A lot of these look like fun, and I do want to finish up them all before soiree. All of them before soiree, which means I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 left. 9. Alright. Then we will save. And I will say, thank you for joining me. I appreciate your company. I appreciate your opinions. And I'm glad to see you around. Until our signals cross again, I hope you have a wonderful time and enjoy your life to the best of your ability. Until next time.